Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this. AJ Storr, maybe the best guard in the transfer portal, an all Big Ten caliber player from Wisconsin, is transferring to Kansas. He is joining Zeke Mayo and joining Riley Kugel in a program that is already bringing back KJ Adams and may end up bringing back the big fella Hunter Dickinson. That is still TBD. Hunter has not announced what he's doing yet this offseason, but at the very least, Bill Self has gone out and added three playmakers on the perimeter: a 6'7" wing in AJ Storr, a 6'4" combo guard in Zeke Mayo, and a 6'6" athletic two guard in Riley Kugel. Jeff, what do you make of this latest addition from Bill Self in the transfer portal?
I like it. I like it. I mean, I wish Storr had shot it better from three this past year, but the two things that Kansas was really lacking, I mean, they were lacking a lot. Depth, obviously, we know. Shooting and playmakers, guys who can make plays off the bounce and score. And so far, they've been able to add a couple of those guys. AJ Storr, in particular, can really make plays off the bounce. You saw it at Wisconsin this past year. Didn't shoot it great from three, but did everything else well. And Zeke Mayo from South Dakota State is a really, really good shooter and a good secondary ball handler. So they've answered those two. Kugel is a guy who's got high upside, who I think they felt like was worth the risk there coming from Florida. I still think Kansas has to add one more prolific shooter, whether it's Kobe Bryant from Dayton, whether it's Rylan Griffin from Alabama. They need one more dude that can shoot the hell out of the ball in order for me to put them as a preseason number one team in the country.
I'm kind of with you, but the idea of having DeJuan Harris with Zeke Mayo and somebody like an AJ Storr at the three, and then put KJ
Sure.
Adams at the four and maybe a Hunter Dickinson at the five. I understand that maybe you don't necessarily have the greatest shooters on the planet there, but you got a couple guys that are good enough at making them where you'll be able to create the space. And you also have some really talented perimeter players on that roster. I'm going to have a hard time if Hunter Dickinson comes back. I'm going to have a very hard time talking myself out of the idea that Kansas is the preseason number one team in the country again. And we haven't even talked about the potential of Johnny Furphy coming back to school. I know that he put his name
He's not coming
into
back.
the draft.
Listen, Johnny Furphy's not coming back. You could take that one. I'd be shocked. Now, again, I was shocked when Kevin McCullough came back last year to Kansas, and so was the Kansas staff. So stranger things have happened. I do not expect Johnny Furphy to be back in Lawrence, Kansas next year.
How good do you think these guys are going to be? I mean, we've seen AJ Storr go from the Big East to Wisconsin in the Big Ten, and now he's heading to the Big 12, which is arguably the toughest conference in college basketball. We saw Riley Kugel, a guy that was projected by just about every person with a breakout players list to projected him as a breakout star at Florida last year. He hasn't quite lived up to it. And then Zeke Mayo, the Lawrence native, is coming back home to Lawrence for, I believe, his senior season. What do you, how good are these guys going to be, and how is that adjustment level going to be coming into the Big 12?
Well, it'll be easy for AJ Storr because he just did it at a very high level, right? Zeke Mayo is obviously going up a level, and that didn't work for Nicholas Timberlake a year ago in Kansas. So I think Bill Self said three things. He said, number one, we're gonna have shooters. We're gonna get enough shooters and shot creators, and we're going to get depth. Like, we're not going to be at a point where we were last year where our top second best player was out for the tournament. Our best player was banged up, and we had nothing else. We had no chance against Gonzaga, and we're overmatched by a good, not great Gonzaga team. So I think Bill Self was on a mission here. They've got NIL, Rob, somewhere in that $3 to $4 million range, I'm told. So they're not done. They're not done. That's the scary part right now. Is you mentioned their starting five right now, and it includes, AJ Storr, Zeke Mayo, DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson, and they got room for another pretty good player, at least one. And then you add Zach Clements, who I was shocked didn't come out of his red shirt last year, but he's a big that's certainly going to be able to provide some depth up front with Hunter.
Yeah, and they got Florida Badunga coming in, who I know you absolutely adore as a prospect, and a couple of other freshmen. And it's worth noting that Marco Jackson and Jamari McDowell, while they were not uh, maybe, especially with Marco, as good as we necessarily thought he was going to be, if we're talking about him as a 10-minute a game guy off the bench as a sophomore, it's a very different conversation than having him be a potential starter as a freshman
Yes.
playing in the Big 12. I'm curious with AJ Storr. I feel like his story is kind of what college basketball is going to turn into as we move further into the transfer portal era. A guy that starts at St. John's, plays well enough to get a shot at a bigger program at Wisconsin in the Big Ten, absolutely kills it there, realizes I have a chance to end up being a very, very, very good college basketball player, and then parlays that into an opportunity to go to Kansas. Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field 68 content.